to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, and good morning. Welcome to Tuesday, March the 7th, 2023, everyone. Great to be with you. Happy that you're with us. It's going to be a great show this morning, and hopefully we're going to have a great heart-to-heart. There's a lot of personal information that's going to be shared on the show today. It's going to be a real personalized show, so hopefully you can take part in it. You're listening to us live on CKLU 96.7 FM every weekday morning between 7:30 and 8:30. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. You click on the Radio Player Canada logo. You can stream us. You can also click on the Radio Player Canada app logo and download the Radio Player Canada app and take us with you and listen to us any place, anywhere, which is the same thing, anytime on your favorite device. And also all the great programming that comes with CKLU, you can take us with you as well. As you know, immediately following this show is Earshot Daily. It's a show that I help with. I'm the coordinator of. It's a coast to coast to coast, all Canadian, mainly Canadian, independent music platform. It's earshot-distro.ca. If you're an artist, you can go there and upload your songs. You get a discount for the first so many songs. And then all the DJs from different 110 stations across Canada can take those songs and play them on their shows. So it's a pretty great thing, and I'm grateful to be a part of that, along with being the facilitator of this conversation that is Sudbury News Talk, that we go through all of the issues right here in Sudbury. And we're not just speaking to people in Sudbury, we're speaking to people around the world. As we look at the statistics after the show, there's people from all over the world, so many countries. It's incredible. So there's a lot of people wanting to be in touch with, they've either lived in Sudbury or they're from Sudbury or they're interested in what's going on here. But we don't only talk about things that are just Sudbury related. They have implications for the rest of the world as well. And so we like to keep things real on the show. And so with that, we're on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News as well. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, because that gets the word out. But mainly comment, because this is your show. This is your conversation. Now, there's been some conversations where it was just too much to handle all the comments and get them on the screen and to verbalize them for the audience on radio. However, if you are on Facebook, mainly is where most of the comments are coming through, you can just pay attention to the thread. If we're not able to get them up on the screen, I apologize. Again, if there's just too many comments, it's hard to keep the show rolling. I'm the host, I'm the technical guy, I'm the producer, I'm the writer, and all these things, and trying to do everything in real time. It's not easy. And so it's not an excuse, but at the same time, I just think it's impossible. But we've only got there a couple times where I wasn't able to get everybody up on the screen. So it might be the future. We might have to hire a moderator or somebody to look at the comments and get them up. But with that, good morning, Judy. Thanks for being with us. Hope you're having a great day. Same to you, Vin. Thanks for being with us this morning. And thanks for going above and beyond and sending us different articles and things that you find are important. We really appreciate that. Continue to do that, please. And David, good morning. Stay safe. And thanks for being with us. Hopefully, David, you are having a great day as well. Now, with that, I just wanted to thank the Facebook moderators, the YouTube moderators. They have a job to do. It is not easy. Thank you very much, Vin. We really appreciate that. We're trying. We're doing our best. And, well, let's dive right in. We got a great show. Billy's going to be on the show this morning. There was an incident that kind of went viral locally and throughout Northern Ontario to do with his father, his dad, who's he's suffering from dementia and had a very unfortunate incident happen to him in long-term care. He'll be here to explain all the details of that because obviously he knows it better than most people and so close to home. Good morning, Diane. Bon matin. Thanks for being with us. Hope you're having a great day. And so with that, that's going to be the chunk of our conversation this morning. However, there are still a lot of headlines. There's still sports and there's weather, which we'll start with. But the Renee Sweeney case went ahead yesterday. There's some details on that. There's also the Junction East project. I have a little bit of an update on that, and much more are coming your way right after a weather update and a brief sports update. We'll be back right after this. Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently minus 9 degrees, feels like minus 17, partly cloudy. Today, can expect sunny, winds gusting up to 60 this morning, kilometers an hour. High of -1, wind chill -22 this morning, and high of -9 with the wind chill this afternoon. Tonight, a few clouds. The wind will be diminishing in the evening. Low of -12, wind chill -10 this evening, and -22 overnight. Wednesday, mainly cloudy, and wind chill -22 in the morning. So a little brisk there. That's very, still cold. We're anticipating spring on the 21st, I believe. And, it couldn't come any faster for me. Looks beautiful out there at the moment, sunny. So tomorrow will be mainly sunny. Thursday, cloudy, high of -1. Friday, -3, cloudy. Saturday, chance of flurry, 60%, high of -1. Again, very mild during the day. Overnight, it's still very crispy out there, cold. Sunday, -1, mix of sun and cloud, and then some chance of flurries predicted for the beginning of next week on Monday, high of -2. So very moderate. You only go from -3 to 0 for the temperature for the next 7 days. It's very consistent and consistently mild. The look at your satellite overhead, it's just a mix of sun and cloud. You always have that cloud around the Great Lakes. It just seems like it's a cloud producer, those Great Lakes, and I'm not sure why we don't have the view of it like we're supposed to, like we have now, where it's moving. And then you see that's yesterday, and then it stops. And so they're just having a little glitch with it. But anyways, that's what it looked like yesterday before some clouds were rolling in. That is your Sudbury weather. And for those on the radio, you're not missing anything because you can't see what's not happening. That's your Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of a sports update right after this. Sudbury Sports brought to you by that Sudbury Sports guy, Randy Pascal, and his website, sudburysports.com, where you can catch all things Sudbury Sports. And I would encourage you to do that because he covers sports like nobody's business. He is that Sudbury Sports guy, and sudburysports.com is his website. Sudbury 5 will be in action this Thursday against Flint in town. Thursday, and then again on Saturday. So doubleheader, Thursday, Saturday against the Flint United. The Flint United. I love these names. They're interesting. Anyway, so get your tickets. Tickets can be found at greatersudbury.ca/tickets or go to the5.ca for more information on those two games. They should be able to handle themselves. They seem pretty capable at beating every team except for the London Lightning these days. So, and if you want to catch the Sudbury Wolves, they are in action. Well, if you want to head to the Sioux, you can see them live tomorrow night, Wednesday night, taking on the Sioux. And then they're back in town. You can get your tickets for Friday night's game against London, the London Knights. Their first time in town since, I think, 2019, and the only time this season. And the London Knights are always put on a great show. They're a great team, so that'll be a great game. So the Wolves have their hands full because then the next day they head to Barrie to take on the Colts, which are like neck and neck with North Bay for the top spot. So they have a challenging 3 days, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday coming up. And then they're back against the Sioux Greyhounds next Wednesday in town here. So for all the latest there, you can go to greatersudbury.ca/tickets and see when the games are. You can see the Five and the Wolves when their in-town games are and kind of plan your schedule around that. Get out and support local sports. Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.com. We'll be back with headlines and Billy right after this. All right, so we're on. Billy, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yourself?
You know how our morning went.
Yeah, well, we prevailed.
Yeah. We overcame. We accomplished our goal. Wasn't easy.
No,
It was
but life
not.
is like a video game, Sometimes you get the boss at the end of the level. A little bit of a challenge, but there's that celebration when you succeed and on to the next level.
Is that like Super Mario when you get that whatever that thing is there at the end?
All my philosophical analogies involve Super Mario.
My daughter loves Super Mario. But I know the name of that guy there at the end, the big monster.
Is that Bowser?
Bowser, yes.
Yeah.
How could I forget Bowser? Yip. Remember
Bowser?
Remember the old Bowser with the leather jacket back in the day?
Well, I kind of remember the way he looked, but that sounded like a Sesame Street character.
Yeah, well, that's just me.
Yip.
Oh, those guys. Yeah, the aliens.
Telephone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yip. Cow. Moo. I love those guys. That I could watch that over and over and over. There's that one where they come down and they're looking at the telephone through the window. Oh man. So good. The old Sesame Streets, right? Does anything compare to that in like the Muppet Show? Jim Henson?
I don't know. I just watch an old TV in general. Like they'll have like they don't cut away very much. Like sometimes they'll have like really long one scenes on a live stage. And it's like, wow, how did all these actors like just have these immaculate performances that for that length of time without, a lot of things these days, I guess it's gotten so easy with technology that, you don't have to learn to do it that long. You can just kind of.
Exactly.
It's like recording a song.
Oh, for sure.
Back then, everybody had to play it from start to finish. No mistakes.
No splicing. Oh, you could splice, but that took days to get the tape.
Yeah, well, back in the
proper.
early days.
Yeah.
There was no splicing.
Well, even then, before splicing, before the Beatles and whatever came in and shook some things up. And the Rolling Stones, Billy, I'll just say that. The Rolling Stones must have done something good back in the day to enhance technology in terms of recording. I'm just not sure what it is.
They did. They had the first, I think, mobile recording studio.
You're
No, they
right.
recorded Led Zeppelin albums with that. And
You are right. They did have a recording studio on wheels.
mhm.
Yes, it was quite famous too. Brian Poulet, good morning. Carrie B says she's sorry to hear about your dad, Billy. She's
Oh, thanks.
sending good vibes your way, and we will
Really
be
appreciate
talking
that.
about that this morning. I wanted to kind of leave that a little bit towards the end. Go through headlines, and the story basically went viral. Like 3 main media organizations located in Sudbury in Northern Ontario picked it up,
Yeah,
and
that was a
mm-hmm.
huge response. And, thank you so much, Aaron, because I think that is, your help with that is probably why that happened. It just had such a, um, and the local media too, all the articles were like, they were great, uh, great translations, depictions of the situation. So
Yeah, they did a
it was,
great job covering it. They did a
mhm.
great job. Like, I have to say, we have some really great news organizations in this town and a lot of great reporters. I cannot, wow. Yeah. And we'll get more into that, but not a problem, Billy. It really was not much effort on my end, really, at all. It was as simple as taking what your dad went through and what your stepmom, Diane, and yourself have been dealing with mainly, and just kind of putting it into a press release is all that it was, and then just emailing it out. So
So understated, because
yeah.
when I read it, because like I was trying to think of like how it would go, like when you're kind of what points you want to articulate and stuff, and when you're in the jumble of that, it's all very hard to extract that. So
Hmm.
for you to, when I saw what you had kind of laid out, it's like, oh, that is it. That is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it was
So
mainly
you are awesome at that.
I don't know. It was what I can't honestly can't take much credit, because I did a little bit of coaching with Diane, and I said, this is how, and I just said it verbally. I didn't even write anything. I said, you're going to want to just give a little bit of a backstory, and then you're going to want to just get, and I just did a little verbal coaching like that. She wrote it mainly, and then I took it and then just kind of refined it a bit, honestly, not much. And then just put it in the format that it needed to be in, and just got it to the people that could, make it happen in the media organizations around town. And everyone picked it up except for Sudbury.com. Sudbury.com was the only one that didn't pick it up, and I'm not sure why. You'd think it's like almost like if the Sudbury.com were not going to cover the Renee Sweeney case or something. Like they would
Well,
just
I
choose
don't know.
not to cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm
Everybody's
not.
got different things going on and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like,
And I'm not saying a good thing or a bad thing about it. It is just a fact, right? It just noticed they were the only one out of the major 4 English journalistic outlets in town that didn't pick it up.
yeah,
But it is what it is. Who knows why? It's no blame being
maybe they're
shared, but
understaffed that day.
could be all kinds of reasons. But there'll be follow-up stories, and we'll get into it a little bit more. Vin is reminiscing about MASH. 4077. Remember MASH?
That was like a hugely influential show, eh?
Yeah, it was interesting.
It'd be interesting to quantify what effect that had on the projection of society, sort of.
For sure. Yeah. Well, it took a hard concept such as war and made a comedy around it, and they were able to get really hard kind of talk about issues out there through comedy kind of thing, and people were able to
That is the ticket.
it. Yep. Okay, so let's just go through a few headlines. I really want to get to talking about the main story of today. I just want to let everyone know there was a water main break on Van Horn, and drivers were asked to avoid the area. That was at 3 a.m. So as far as I know, it could be already cleaned up and everything's fine with it. So police put that out on social media. Renee Sweeney case. There were 2 sets of bloodstains found outside Sweeney murder scene. The Sudbury jury was told. So it's a little complicated. It looked like there were bloodstains going in one direction and then bloodstains going in another direction, which to me would indicate there were two people fleeing the scene. If there was two opposite directions, because if I was trying to get out of there as quick as I could, if I committed an act as brutal as that, and I wanted to not be found there, I would just hightail it out of Dodge as fast as I could in one direction. I don't think I would go one way and another, but however, I don't know.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Sounds like there could be two in there. I'll just put that out there. I don't know.
You know, and with a little more time, might come up with another scenario that that explains that. But
yeah,
I guess it's figuring out who the blood belongs to. Did they sort of trace whether that any of that blood was connected to the guy they've arrested? So
yeah, they obviously could store the blood, do DNA tests, and whose blood was where and what, and they have done that, and they've done DNA testing. But this is the interesting thing: they found a jacket wedged in some rocks behind, which is now, you know, where the pizza joint is and Paris Natural Foods. It was in that mall on the corner of, I think it's Nepawan in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And they found these articles behind that location, which they say is now the health unit or whatever.
The health food store.
No, the
No.
Sudbury Health, beside the hospital there. What's it called? The health unit? The big building beside the
Sudbury
hospital?
District Health Unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a field, I guess, at that time. And they found this jacket. And I was thinking, as part of investigative whatever, I don't know, couldn't you go back and ask some fellow students of Robert Stephen Wright at school and say, you know, on the day, did you notice anything? Talk to the teachers, do you recall seeing him acting was he present at school? First of all, when did he check in? Like, they keep track of this at schools and would have a record of him being there or not at the time, right?
I think that is investigated. Like, I don't think they share all the details, you know, of their investigation as they go. They have these
That's interesting.
elements.
So Jason is chiming in here and he's saying something that I thought was interesting. Okay, so, so just to go back to Brian Poulet, Hawkeye, he got that 4077 shout out there. And Diane says she loved the show. Jason is checking in. He says good morning, and that he has some information on this. He says he was friends with Renee, and they were close. So that's interesting. And that was another question I had. Did he know her? Because a lot of times you want to look at murders and say, 9 times out of 10, it's someone you know. 9 times out of 10, it's someone you know. However, Jason is saying he believes he's innocent. So that's kind of against what I was type of thinking is, if you know somebody, it's usually some kind of disagreement you've had. It could be, usually if you're going to go to that length and murder somebody, it's a huge disagreement of some kind. It's a vendetta. If you're in a relationship, a love relationship, if somebody betrays you or whatever, it could cause rage, whatever. You know, there's all kinds of reasons. There's usually money or sexual relationships where somebody's intimate are the two main reasons for murder. Those are usually the two.
Well, my question first came to mind when I saw that, where there's the two blood samples, do they match both of those people? Like, does it count? Like, is some of that Renee's and the other person's? Because I think if there's blood on the scene that is a person that is not either of the two of them, that sort of strongly implies that there is a third person involved in the situation, right?
Yeah. And Jason's saying at the time we have to look at this situation, what was going on around Northern Ontario, that there were other murders as well. Interesting, right? You have to take in all of it. And that's why I like the idea of forensic investigation, homicide units, that's all they do. What's the homicide investigator on Investigative Discovery? He's from Colorado Springs. Anyways, I love watching his show. He said he's only had 2 or 3 cases he was not able to solve. Joe Kenda. If you ever get a chance to watch him, I just love, like, it's like the guy tries to get inside the mind and really understand the situation of what's happening. And he does. He gets, like, there's like 300 or so cases he was able to solve. And like I said, only a few he wasn't, which is really cool. So he knows he could be guilty. This is what Jason's saying. He could be guilty, but his gut tells him that he's innocent. And that's the thing, right? We would really hope that investigations could be done to the point where it's almost like when you watch a Forensic Files show, you leave that. There was only one Forensic Files I watched when I thought, wait a minute here. That guy could still be innocent. Only one out of, I don't know how many hundreds they have that I've watched, where I thought, that's not conclusive. There's still, all the other ones were like, there's no way. Like, they totally proved it. Like, you can't get around the fact that this person is guilty. And so, yeah, you would hope that the investigation could be to that degree. But apparently something happened in the case yesterday where the judge thought they looked at some new evidence and thought that someone on the stand was trying to sway the jury in some way or something. So they stopped for a while. They huddled and they came back and they said, okay, no, everything's fine. But there were some gloves found. There's the jacket. Like, whose jacket is this? Could we find out? Is there DNA inside the jacket? You know, whoever's wearing the jacket, there should be DNA evidence inside of it. Now, I know this took place in what, early 90s?
Yeah, I suspect the
late
police
90s.
know.
You think so?
Yeah, and I've heard that's one of the things they do a lot to, to filter out, tips and stuff coming in. They will have some information that they know, and then if it sort of corroborates someone coming forward with something, it gives them more merit as opposed to having everything out in the public and then the public, using that to sort of like build the story in their head, and then it kind of gets convoluted when they. So.
But there's also a media ban on some of the information too, which I'm always kind of skeptical when they do stuff like that, which means we can't get the whole story. Mm-hmm. But we'll have more on that as things progress in the case. It's not over yet. I wish I had more time. I'd love to interview Robert Stephen Wright myself and just ask him point blank questions that I have that, I think just that in itself could reveal certain things, I'd love to ask this person some questions too. Prime Minister Trudeau announces election interference investigation. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces
the collective snicker across Canada.
An independent special reporter. A reporter spelled Rapporteur will investigate foreign election interference. So here's Chris. Good morning. How are you? We are great. I hope you're doing well as well, Chris. Brian was saying we should call Columbo to help investigate our.
He's one of my favorites. I love his last line. One more thing.
Yeah.
And then he's got drops the bomb.
Yeah, exactly. The clinching question. I just can't put it together why this and that. And then that's the thing that
unravels it.
Questions are the thing. We don't understand the power of questions. Questions. If you it's like the 3-year-old that you just can't stand sometimes. Like, why? Why? Why?
Mm.
Why? Eventually you get to the point where you don't know what the heck you're talking about and you don't like that. So you're like, okay, enough, enough. It is what it is. It's just the way it is because we don't even know the answer. And we can't say, you know what? Well, sometimes we do, I guess. Say, I don't know the answer to that. I just don't know. That's a good question. But yeah, you can get to the bottom of pretty much anything with good questions. I should run for mayor, LOL. Not. That's Jason. Caribbean says, what a crock. An independent investigation. How about they are just paying them off to keep it quiet? Well, I think a lot of Canadians share your sentiment on that one, Caribbean. Yeah, that's kind of what went through my mind. If you look at the inquiry on the February, the convoy kind of thing, and how there was nothing the Prime Minister did that was wrong whatsoever in there. He did everything right. Like, obviously, they couldn't find one thing he did wrong out of all that. I could find 20 things, He incited. If this was a real court, he would have been found to incite a group of people by calling them a fringe group whose ideas are not accepted in Canada. That's inciting. Somebody who has a legitimate concern. So just that alone he could have said, but he didn't. Didn't even get a little slap on a finger. So yeah, so obviously it was political. Vince says Trudeau claims he was never briefed on election interference, yet Jody Thomas has said he's been briefed on each occasion since 2019. Is she the next Raybould? Lucky that that'll get thrown under the bus. Yeah. As we know, Raybould was out of the cabinet after she stood up to Trudeau, right? And that's what happens when you do something like that. I think that's what it looks like anyways, right?
Mm.
So I wonder who this independent special reporter, spelled ROPPORTEUR, will be to investigate foreign election interference. Well, can we just guess what's going to happen with that? Billy, you got the first guess. Do you think there's going to be foreign election interference found? I
don't know.
What do you think?
I think the walls are closing in on that, guys. So,
okay.
They're going to have there will be a mechanism, maybe something like this, I think, coming in the near future that's going to, kind of remove him from the scene. So,
but he's announcing this.
Typically, I would say historically, the chances are close to nil. But
right answer.
Yeah, but
you got the right answer.
I have a feeling he's not going to be the guy for too much longer.
Well, that could be the case, but I don't think in this situation that any foreign interference will be found, even though he was briefed, and there's many people at high levels that said that he was briefed about this. And why wouldn't the Prime Minister? I remember reading it in the news where CSIS was announcing 4 years ago that they suspected that there was meddling from Chinese sources in our elections, and we need to watch. That was mainstream media. Why wouldn't the Prime Minister be briefed as a follow-up to the, hey, how's that Chinese meddling thing going anyways, CSIS? You'd think he himself would be wanting to ask these questions. I would, if I was Prime Minister and if I cared about my country. Glenn Smith says, appointed by Justin Trudeau. Obviously, he's a joke. Justin has to go. Trudeau has to go. Oh, that rhymes. That could, anyways. Okay. That's Glenn Smith comment, not my own. Okay. So there's more on the Renee Sweeney case here. Back to Sudbury. I guess I digressed. I went into a bit of national news there. Doubtful that there will be a finding of foreign infiltration. Again, Brian, Right answer. Right answer. The downtown, the BIA, on board with the new plan for Junction East in downtown Sudbury. Putting a pause on the Junction East makes sense in order to create the right project for downtown. Let's just see here. We'll just dig into it a little bit. So putting a pause on it in order to create the right project for post-pandemic times, downtown Sudbury says. Just wondering here. Jeff McIntyre, co-chair of the BIA, said the group is confident the mayor wants to proceed the project despite council passing a motion to whittle down the budget by about a third. We're pretty confident in our conversations with the mayor that he's still pretty devoted to ensuring these projects happen. But the reality is Sudbury is just not where it was when these decisions were made. Wow, that's a very insightful comment there. McIntyre said COVID changed a lot of things. Work from home has changed a lot of things. Downtown is functionally a different place because we've got a different type of traffic. And while traffic is starting to come back to downtown, office culture has changed a little bit. McIntyre also said putting a pause on everything right now makes sense in order to create the right project for these post-pandemic times. It's important to ensure you're not trying to fit a round peg in a square hole because things have changed. Well, thank you. That just sounds like some clear thinking going on there. Not used to that for some reason. Councillor explains opposition to Greater Sudbury's new budget. Michael Vagnini wants the city to adopt a bottom-up approach, zero-based budget process. This, again, sounds like it just sounds like clear thinking. Ward 2 Councillor Michael Vagnini is used to standing in his own circle. That is true. When council passed the 2023 budget in February, Vagnini was the only member of council who voted against it, as he has for several previous budgets. Vagnini said last week, it's the process with which he disagrees. In my world, we have never used a top-down budget. We've always gone from bottom up, he said, noting he works in the financial sector. Again, I have always said that too, Billy, isn't it? Shouldn't you handle the city or a business just like you would your own home in many ways? You know?
Yeah, well, explain the bottom-up thing.
Like, you got bills, you need to get them.
See how much money you have, and that's what you're going to spend.
You don't say, oh, we want these big, big projects, and then find a way to get it. You go, this is what we have. We need to deal with these things. These are our bills. We need to start with these. And then once you build it up and you have more money, then you can, get more things as you have the resources.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that our culture kind of like when you look at all the institutions, I think the majority kind of do that top down kind of thing, which is probably explain the world's debt of 200 trillion or whatever it's supposed to be. But
exactly. But I do like the thinking. And I like where he's going with that. I like the principle. So that's there's some neutrino lab stuff there if you want to read it on our Facebook page. Sudbury Snow Lab makes scientific breakthrough. Kind of neat there. I don't understand a lot of the scientific jargon they're using, so I don't really know how cool of a finding it is, just because I didn't have time and I don't have a team of researchers and producers and everything for the show to look into things. I only read the article and then we have the show. However, it's kind of neat if you want to look into that. Caribbean is saying Trudeau's got to go. Trudeau's got to go. I guess she likes that slogan. Vin is saying, though, it won't be a lack of finding in the inquiry of foreign interference. It'll be a lack of admitting it. It will be redacted for your protection. Do you like when they show government documents and everything is blacked out?
Well, I think there's a statistic out there where the FBI, when they've investigated themselves, I think it was like 99% of the time they found they were actually in the right.
Yes.
So they haven't made any very rarely do they make a bad decision.
I like Brian's little thing here. It's very humorous. I don't know. Your mission, Sudbury campers, it will be to decide to accept it. If you decide to accept it, it is to find corruption in the government and destroy it. As always, if either you or IMF team are either caught or killed, the secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions. Good luck, Sudbury campers. This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. All right, a little bit of humor from Brian. Appreciate it. And so now I wanted to get talking a little bit about what you and your stepmom Diane has been going through, your father has been going through at York Extendicare, Billy. A little bit of the background. Did you want to just give us a little background on your dad and how he ended up in the situation that he's in currently?
Well, I guess kind of the crux of the situation is when he kind of started declining cognitively. You write out a list of like where, the top 5 places you want to go, and so because they're from Espanola, so Espanola is on the top of the list, but he sort of kind of accelerated, so there was a bit of an emergency to get him into the next available one, which happened to be York. And the idea is that as soon as you get on the list for Espanola, and when it opens up, you get moved to Espanola. But so he's been at York for over a year, and he's not getting into Espanola for what seems kind of vague, sort of very disputable reasons. But the situation that happened at York, as far as sort of I can determine, is it really looks like a staff shortage. There is always a huge kind of understaffing, and the staff there are amazing. It's just, when you have, spinning plates, and then you get more plates and less people to spin those plates, some of them are going to drop. So, and I think that's kind of what happened. But
yeah, so his condition was worsening so rapidly that you couldn't wait for Espanola, and they called and they said York is available, which happens to most people because York,
mhm.
it has a reputation as being, a harsher place, and one that it's easier to get into because of that anyways.
Mhm.
So they called and they said, York is available. If you want to come here while you're waiting for Espanola, at least he'll have a place. And then while he was there, they somehow rejected the idea of him moving from York to Espanola for reasons, like you said, are disputable. They're disputable. And now you just found out he's not even on the list anymore. They took him off the list for Espanola. So that means they have no plans of transferring him, even though his primary caregiver lives in Espanola and has to travel, 5 days a week to Espanola. You're there, and you're there a lot as well. You're a caregiver as well. However, Diane's making the commute, and it would be a lot easier if he was in his hometown, and Diane was just hop, skip, and a jump away. And she is his caregiver.
Oh, yeah.
And you are his caregiver when you are there. Because of the short staff, you're basically caring for him while you're there. You're not just visiting, correct?
Yeah, I'm technically a visitor because there's a
the
mandate thing with the caregivers.
The category.
So it's a bit of a loophole kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. But you're a visitor, but you are a caregiver when you're there. Like, you're doing caregiver type things. So then an incident.
Yeah, to some degree, nothing to the degree that Diane is. Diane is almost like she's there in the morning, stays till night, and often 6 days a week. So.
Well, I was going to say nobody can do things to the degree Diane does them.
Yeah.
So it's a hard bar to she sets the bar very high. Now, so he's in York, and there was an incident that happened because They used to be able to put bars on beds, but now they say they're not allowed to do that because it infringes on their human rights somehow. So in order to stop people from falling out of beds, they lower the beds as low as they can, and they put yoga mats on the floor beside them. So now this created a problem for your dad because the bed is so low, his bed's against the wall, and the baseboard heater, which everyone knows, those electric baseboard heaters or whatever, it's a baseboard heater. He's now, it's in reaching distance from the bed. And so what happened?
And so because of, his dementia, which has a bit of a, his brain can't communicate with his body and tell his body what to do or where the pain's coming from. So his arm ended up resting on the baseboard heater for nobody knows how long, but he was certainly in a lot of pain. He bit so much of his face, and lower lip in pain for a while that it was, and it seemed like other strange burns, or I don't know, maybe it was like bruises from flailing or something like that. But he was in bad shape.
So he was in so much pain,
he's
but
got skin grafts.
Yeah, he had to get skin grafts, first, second, and third degree burns. The pictures of which many people have said to me, because everyone's saying, "Hey, did you read that story?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it in the news." Yeah, how could they publish those pictures? I'm like, well, those pictures had to be sent to the news organizations to show the severity. If you just say someone was burned, but then you show a picture that shows how bad, a picture is what, worth 1,000 words, right? So
totally, yeah.
Some of the news outlets chose to publish those pictures, and look, you don't have to look at them at the same time, but you really should get a sense of how bad this burn was that he received, and the from being in so much pain, him biting down on his lip and his chin. That was terrible. And so I had to get skin grafts. And so even that for your dad has, it's dementia, but it's it's a certain kind of dementia. It's a far along dementia. What's the word for it? I don't know. We both suffer from the same thing.
Sure, yeah.
Words are hard to come to us. So we're not. Yeah, exactly. It's anyways, progressed dementia. I don't know, something like that. But he then has to go to the hospital. So not only is the burn bad enough, but then the trips to the hospital and the surgery, and then healing from surgery on top of that, it's traumatic. I'm sure. And then how the family has to deal with all of this as well. So, and I know York Extendicare put out a statement saying they are saddened by what had happened and they are just doing everything they can. They follow the safety procedures and things. But luckily, Diane's niece just happens to be a lawyer. And can you explain a little bit about what's happening now with the situation? Like what are you guys doing? What's the process moving forward from here?
Well, I think this thankfully has kind of opened up a few, people making suggestions, and there's I think a couple pathways that I'm actually, Diane and I are taking Frank to the hospital today to get his dressing changed and stuff. So we'll sort of reconvene and kind of discuss how to move next. But really the big, the big prize that we're hoping for is to get him in Espanola,
Sure.
And I think one of the side things that's coming from all this is just, I guess the system's really in crisis. It really needs more resources. It needs some changes. So, and just the way the world works, it takes pressure at this end to get to that end, so.
For sure. Well, before this all took place, your stepmom had talked to her niece and started to try to kind of go a little bit above the local people and speak to the legal people as part of the long-term care to see if there was anything they could do to just follow what should be their own policies and procedures, which seem to be weren't being adhered to. Like you said, they were kind of like arguable reasons why he wasn't going to be able to get into Espanola. And so that was already in place.
Mm-hmm.
And now this has brought to light, unfortunately, your dad's suffering. It's terrible. But it just, I guess, brought it more to a public sphere of what's happening here. And hopefully that will end up being, hopefully all this tragedy and suffering and everything will at least be able to shed enough light on it that it gets to the proper people that make these decisions that will just follow what was supposed to be followed in the first place and have your dad in the best situation that he should have been in the first place. Correct?
Yeah. It's really awful to see. He just like worked so hard all his life and contributed, in a huge way to society, and then to kind of see him at the, on the bottom rungs of this system.
Yeah. I know Diane's saying Pioneer Manor was short of staff 2011, 2012. And so pandemic and after that is just even worse. And Vin is saying thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks, Vin.
St. Gabe's and Chemi as well. Yeah, no, workers are phenomenal. They're just a poor number of workers, a patient ratio, which is true. Yeah, and Brian can't believe this has happened to your dad, Billy. We really haven't learned anything from the military's investigation when the pandemic began. Have we?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, so this is a thing I think a lot of people, Monique says, so sorry to hear that, Billy. And you have received a lot of outpouring of support, correct? Through these stories I've seen. So shows that a lot of people.
And it means a lot, and it really does sort of, charge me up to, persevere in that.
Also, Judy saying, so sorry to hear what happened to your dad as well. It's all the time we have for today, Billy, but let's do a little bit of a follow-up on Thursday to see how your dad's dressings, how everything's going, how his healing is doing, because I'm sure people are going to want a little bit of an update on his health status, of his physical health. And just as the people commenting, I also appreciate you just sharing something that's so personal to you in such a public way. So I really appreciate that.
Well, thanks for allowing me to.
Yeah. And like I said, anything I could do or will do. And Jason says, prayers, Billy. So yeah, same here.
Thanks so much, guys.
Okay. So good luck with your dad today. I hope everything goes well. And we'll check in a little bit later and we'll see you back on the show on Thursday. Correct?
Sounds good.
Okay.
That is correct.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for commenting. There's more comments. All the love's coming through for you, Billy. Just check out the comments here.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Love Billy Day here on the show. All right. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily. We'll be back. Same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good one everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.